What is going on, fellow Trovians? This is Microwavius here with a new Trove video, and this one is about making Flux, because I got a comment in a recent video asking about how I make Flux in the game, so I'm going to kind of show you a bit of my method. Now keep in mind, this works for me. It might not work for you, but hopefully it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what to do anyway, or where to start. I basically just do dungeon farming in U6. That's the main gist of it. Um, it's obviously a method that's been around for a while, so I am not the first person to have thought of that by a long shot. But there's a few things you want to keep in mind when you do this. You want to have a good build for this, so that begins with the class you use. I personally really like the Lunar Lancer, and a lot of other people do as well, because he has just a high amount of damage he can deal. And the next thing you want to look at after that is the gear that you're using. So obviously, if you can, you're going to want to have full radiant gear. I know that's easier said than done. It does take a bit of work to get there, but when you do, it is worth it. The main two stats that I kind of work on are critical damage and magic find. So as you can see, I have critical damage on all of my gear here. And you can get magic find on your hat, but you can't get it on your weapon or your face, just to clarify. And rings can also have magic find, so if you have both a ring and a hat with magic find, that is ideal. Now my ring is only shadow level 3. I do want to get a shadow level 4 ring eventually to add more magic find, but obviously it can be a little bit hard to get sometimes, so yeah. I went for physical damage and magic find on here because generally you just want to have damage. That's the main thing. I also did invest in a little bit of health for this guy because he's a pretty fragile class who can die easily. So a little bit of health goes a long way for me. You can invest in different stats if you would like to, but these ones seem to work fairly well for me. As for allies and things like that, I'm using Cotton Candy. He doesn't look like Cotton Candy right now because the latest update allowed you to use ally styles, so you can make your ally look like anything you want. I made him look like the ancient dragon ally, or the dragonling, because he's got a little beard and he's just so cute. But moving on, the next thing you want to look at is your Flask and Emblem setup. So for Flask, I am using the Death Defying vial because, like I said before, this class is fairly fragile and he can die easily. This is just kind of a safeguard against that. So usually I will trigger the vial right when I go into a dungeon so that I activate my emblems. But in case I get almost killed, this will kick in again and help keep me alive. Now you could use something like the Valorous vial, which, you know, allows you to restore charges if you deal critical damage. And the Surestrike emblem allows you to deal critical damage, so therefore you can restore your flasks that way. But you have to keep a much closer eye on your health if you're using this one, because it is not going to kick in automatically if you die. I just find the Death Defying a little easier generally and a bit safer. The only trade-off is you do have to stop at your cornerstone more frequently to recharge your flasks. But as for emblems, like I just mentioned a bit before, I use the Surestrike emblem. That's a very important one for dungeon farming because it makes all of your attacks critical hits. And that allows you to deal huge damage. And because I invested in critical damage on all my gear, that makes the critical damage that I do even higher. I also paired that up with the Martial emblem, which doubles physical damage, so again, more damage output. That is the main goal. Get high damage, get high magic find. My current magic find on this guy is about 791, and the main way that I got that is, there's gear here, but also leveling up the dragons. I know some of the older dragons you had to get your dragon souls up to 100 in order to get the bonuses, but the more recent ones, like everything following the ancient dragon, you only need 75 dragon souls in order to get the bonus. So for example, the Moonwane dragon, you can get them up to 75 souls here and you get that plus 50 magic find. So all of these dragons all give you a plus 50 magic find bonus, so the more you can work on those and get the dragons, then you can get the sweet bonuses and more magic find, which is cool. I also do have an extra boost on magic find because of patron status. I haven't normally used this much in the past, but right now I am running patron status because it does give you an extra plus 200 magic find, which is a pretty significant boost. Now it's not necessary, but it does make things a little bit easier, I'm not gonna lie. It's not always worth the money though, but I mean, you have to kind of justify for yourself if that's worth it or not. So that's the main idea of the setup. Now as far as going to the actual dungeons, we are going to do that here, so I'm going to go to U6. And before we start actually clearing a couple dungeons, another quick thing I want to say that helps you get more money on the side here is tomes. So by grinding up these various tomes, especially the legendary tomes, like, you know, the Chaos Codex, which gives you Chaos Chests, or the Writings of Wonder, it gives you 2 Troves of Wonder. This right here, if you get 2 Troves of Wonder, that's already about 20,000 Flux you get just from that. And things like Dragon Coins and Chaos Chests can sell for a decent amount as well. So if you can grind up tomes on the side, that really helps you get some extra money. So keep that in mind as well. Now let's go to the old dungeons here. Let's see what we have. Well, we have Dragonfire Peaks nearby, so we'll just go there for now. I mean, I find there's certain biomes that are a little bit quicker than others. I particularly like the Permafrost biome, the Candoria biome, and also the Neon City. So let's just set up camp here. Recharge some flasks. Alright, so I do see a dungeon ahead here. Let's just go inside. And I'll kind of show you what I do. I'm gonna go at a little bit slower of a pace in this video if I'm just farming on my own. I pretty much go completely nuts and I hacksaw my way into every dungeon. Yeah, there's the stairs. Because if you have lots of bombs and things like that... Okay. So basically what I do when I actually get in the dungeons is I will usually trigger my vial so that I get the critical damage. I'll drop my spear. You might not always have the spear recharged if you're going to dungeons back to back all the time, but the spear does help you take care of things a lot quicker. And at that point you just spam your #1 attack, which is like his swinging attack. So it might be good to have some energy regen on him as well, because then he can just keep using that attack a lot. And it helps you get through dungeons quickly that way. Why do I keep... Didn't I just drop down the hole? Did I just... But basically, what you're looking for when you break through these dungeons is you want to get shadow drops. That's kind of the main thing. You might occasionally get a radiant drop, which, if you're lucky, that's awesome, and you can get some... You can make some good bank from doing that. But most of the time you're going to want shadow drops. And the higher you can get your magic find, the better your drops are usually going to be. So if you can get like shadow 2, 3, or 4, you can actually make a fair amount of money from breaking those down and selling the souls that you get from it. So let's just clear another dungeon here, just to show you once again kind of exactly what I do. That last one didn't work out because I kept lagging to a certain area. So I drop the spear, I trigger a vial, and then I just sweep with my #1 attack. And you can see just how quickly he goes down. So you basically just keep doing that from dungeon to dungeon to dungeon. So I picked up a shadow item here. This is shadow level 3, so that's actually pretty good. And you're hoping to get lots of shadow level 3 or maybe 4s, 5s if you're a bit luckier. Sometimes you're not always going to be lucky, but generally if you do this for a while, you should be getting some fairly good drops, and you can make a good amount of flux per hour kind of thing. But that's basically what I do. I know a lot of people do merching, which is the process of selling items for lower, or sorry, buying items for lower and selling them for higher. But that kind of involves a bit more research and studying the market to see when things sell and when they don't. I'm personally not quite as good at doing that because, I don't know, I just don't always want to follow the market all the time, and I'm not that great at it. But that is a good method, and probably a faster method than farming dungeons if you can do it correctly. The only general advice I can give about that is I find it's usually better to look for, oh, cornerstone isn't loaded. It's usually better to look for items that people use all the time. So, you know, anything like twice forged, thrice forged souls, all that stuff. Or crafting things like, or different types of ores like shapestone or infinium or whatever. Things that people use over and over again, those are usually pretty good things to buy and sell. Stuff like mounts you might be able to do okay with, but since it's something people only use once, there's probably not going to be as many of them selling as quickly. Anyways, that's about the main extent of what I do to make Flux, so hopefully you guys got something out of it. I know a lot of other people use this kind of method or some variation of it, but hopefully that gives you at least a bit of an idea of where to start if you're kind of new to this thing. Obviously, if you haven't gotten to the U6 level yet, you're not going to make as much money, but you can still use these kind of methods in lower tiers as well. You just won't get as much reward from it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to hit that like button and leave a comment and subscribe to stay tuned for future videos. I love hanging out with you guys, and it's a lot of fun. So have a great day, everybody. I hope you keep it radiant.